Some of you will have to do like this. Welcome friends to this afternoon session of our holiday party. I'm very happy to see you all again. Today again, I have another paper in my hand. That's made everybody excited. Now I know what to use next time. It appears that what I said yesterday was live streamed. Because I got lots of emails from around the world. They all talked about two things: my red jacket and the joke. Nobody listened to anything else. So people ask me, "Are you a master?" I say, "Do I look like one? Do I behave like one?" And now I can say, does master tell jokes like these? No, I am not a master. I am a disciple of a perfect living master. And all I am doing is seva, service for him. It was his prediction, made in 1937. I was 11 years old. I remember standing next to him. He's talking to Dr. Julian Johnson, an American disciple. And he says, "You have come here, Dr. Johnson, to take spirituality to America. Your coming here will help people in America to go on a spiritual path. Spirituality will shift from here. There are times when things happen on a very large scale. Spirituality has been very much in the eastern part of the globe. If you cut a little picture from Far East, through India, through Africa, there are many mystics you can find. Middle East, right up to the Middle East, there's a stretch. The same belt is going to move over to the west, go to west and be in a big way the United States of America." These are the words of Great Master. The axis of spirituality is going to shift. And he said, all they need is somebody who can explain these teachings in their words, which they understand. Then he wrote 2 or 3 letters also. The same year, 1937. They are available. These letters, people have collected his letters to American disciples, and in that he also mentioned the same thing. So it appears that when I came here, Great Master had indicated that you will go to America when I was 11 years old. I did not know how I can ever go there. I got a fellowship when I was a school student. I got a fellowship for children to visit the United States, school children to visit a small group was arranged by Harvard University. And Harvard University arranged it through a guy named Henry Kissinger. I still remember getting a letter from Henry Kissinger when I'm in school that you are selected to participate in a group visit to our country. But my dad told me, "You know, how can you go so far away? Nobody knows anything about the United States, how far it is." So I suggest don't go. I wrote back a letter to my dad, which he kept for the rest of his life. I said, "Dad, I am not going, in deference to your request that don't go. But it appears to me that I'll be going many times again." It just appears to me. And then after that, when I was 11, Great Master told me that you will be going. So that is why he has given me this great privilege to do seva for him. I believe there is nothing greater in a relationship with the Master to be able to do seva for him. Any kind of seva. It doesn't matter what seva. There is no special quality in seva, this is higher or this is lower. Seva for Master is seva. I remember as a little child, this tall, I think I was this tall. I'm remembering the tall from the height of the fan they used to use to fan the master. There was no electric power in the Dera. So the man who was doing the fanning him, he was sitting in the chair. I came this side. I said, Master, can I fan you? And the Sevadar said, get away, you are too small for that. And Great Master said, give him the fan. I still remember. I took the fan. Fan was as big as I was. And I did like this to him. Seva for Master. Today what I'm doing, no different. There is no difference. Seva is seva. Seva is something that is you are surrendering to something that is pulling you with love. That you're doing something for somebody who's pulling you with love. There's no way we can compensate somebody for giving that kind of a love. But this is just a symbolic things. So that is why what I am doing, seva for my master. I've never claimed to be a master myself. I don't look like one. I've struggled like anybody else. He has given me gifts after gifts. That's wonderful. And it's all his grace. All grace of Baba Sawan saying that I can come and share these stories with you and share so much information with you, which he's provided. As I said yesterday to you, I have never prepared any talk that I come and give you. Never. I have never any idea what I am going to say to you in any of my meetings. And more importantly, after I've said this, I don't remember at all what I've said to you. So it's such a strange feeling. It's feeling it's Great Master doing it. I don't feel that. I just seem to be just like a puppet. It's just a puppet functioning. That's how I particularly feel. So that is why all the credit for anything I do and all the love you people give is all going to the Great Master. Because all his work and he's doing it. Since I can't even remember what I say, I thought other people remember it. My wife decided to check up. What do I say in these meetings? She came a few times to hear me. I said, he's telling the same thing all over again and again. I don't know why people come again. Same people coming again to hear the same stories he tells. So she said, I'm not going to listen anymore. I know what he had to say, it's the same thing. But then she said, why are other people coming? So she decided that when I am giving a talk in Wisconsin, Rice Lake, or in Bruce, that she invites a few people, 7 or 8 people, for dinner out of the group that's attending. And then she serves nice dinner and says, what did Ishwar say? And they all in turn say, very good, talk was very good. She says, but what did he say? It was a very good talk. She tells me they never heard you. They don't come to hear you. They come for their social activity to meet each other. You are under the confusion that they come to listen to you. So we don't know where the truth lies. I know that each one of us carries not only our destiny, we carry our spirituality with us. I was very affected by the teachings of Baba Fakir Chand. I mentioned before. Fakir Chand said, I know nothing. When people say, you come in our meditation and help us, he said, I know nothing, please. He was in the military during the Second World War, and he was, I think, in the base post office or something, and there were 3 of his disciples whom he had initiated. They were in the front. Those disciples, the 3 disciples, were ambushed by the enemy on all 4 sides. They knew they are going to die. Therefore, they sat together and they prayed to their master. Babaji, Baba Fakir Chand ji, please help us, we are going to die. If we are going to die, you come and take us. And he appeared. They saw, all 3 of them saw him in front. And Fakir Chand said, you're not going to die. This is not your time. Go behind where you are. There's a bush. and remove the bush. Underneath there is a tunnel. And that tunnel will come out behind the enemy lines and you'll come out. They went, looked, the bush was there, they removed the bush, they came out and they were saved. They ran straight away to their master. Master, you saved us. And you appeared and saved us. Fakir Chand says, what are you talking about? I am myself so afraid some bomb might fall on me. I know nothing about it. But you appeared. We actually saw you. You told us how to get out. He said, I know nothing. It was all inside you, whatever happened. They said, no, we don't believe you. But anyway, this instance he himself tells in his discourses. I heard him say more than twice in his discourses, I know nothing. These people are getting experiences. It is their experience. Once, one of the disciples, Sant Tarachand, Saint Tarachand, who had attained sainthood and had been ordained to also initiate people by Fakir Chand. And he was in another town, a few hundred miles away. On one of the festive occasions, when Fakir Chand was going to speak, Saint Tarachand also came. So Saint Fakir Chand said, I'm very happy another saint has come. So he made him sit next to him on the dais, on the stage. After Fakir Chand spoke, I know nothing. These are all people's own experiences. The truth is inside. They all find from inside. These masters know nothing. Great master knew nothing. Christ knew nothing. Nanak knew nothing. Buddha knew nothing. He kept on telling that nobody knew nothing. It's all the seeker who finds everything inside. After he said all this, he said, I'm very happy that Saint Tarachand is also here. My old disciple, now a saint. So I like him to say a few words. Then Saint Tarachand said, don't believe what my master is saying. If he knew nothing, I would not spend the money to travel a few hundred miles to come and place my head at his feet. Everything I've got is from him. What he's trying to explain, he's not telling you. And Saint Tarachand explained a little more. He said what he is referring to is that in truth, we are one. The source is one. If the bodies have become two, source is one. When you say the master is helping us, the master is talking from that point, you are the same as that. Therefore, you are getting it yourself. He's explaining a very deep spiritual truth. That essentially, if we are one, then how can you say somebody else helped you? You help yourself. That's the point he was making. A point he has made, Tarachand himself explained that he has heard this very explanation from his master, Fakir Chand. Then I also found Fakir Chand also said these things, but they are not so widely reported. So a person has written his biography, and the title of the book is The Unknowing Saint. So the saint who says, I don't know anything. But then I discovered his son then said he had followed him and he came to America, and the son said, I know everything. So somebody said, your dad said he knew nothing. He said, Dad was like that, but I know everything. But the one who said, I know everything, knew really nothing. But the dad who said, I know nothing, knew everything. So one can get confused by these statements, and one cannot really understand from what point of view these statements are being made. All I wanted to say was that please forgive me if I have crossed a line in telling my jokes. And forgive me in advance if I'm going to cross the line right now. There's another paper in my hand, sent by the same sweet man. There's the sweet man sitting there, Rishi Kataria, who sends me jokes every day without fail. He sends me some food to eat also. And I enjoy it. It's sent by email. Right? Comes nice pictures. Every day, very nice pictures. And somebody else began to copy and also send me food. I said, too much for me. Anyway, astral food. Now here comes today's joke. Hope it is suitable for the holiday party. Bill and Marla decided that the only way to pull off a nice holiday Sunday afternoon quickie with their 10-year-old son in the apartment was to send him out on the balcony and tell him to report on all the neighborhood activities. The boy began his commentary as his parents put their plan into operation. There's a car being towed away from the parking lot, he said. An ambulance just drove by. A few moments passed. Looks like the Andersons have company, he called out. Pat's riding a new bike, and the Coopers are having sex. Mom and Dad shot up in their bed. How do you know that? The startled father asked. Oh, their kid is also standing on the balcony. Right? After this, what can I say? But actually, the truth is that these masters that I have met, great master in particular, had a great sense of humor. They enjoyed jokes. They told jokes. And we don't report the jokes so much because we are so much serious about the spiritual path. We take a lot of things very seriously, which should not be taken seriously. The spiritual path is one which should not be taken seriously. It is supposed to be going back home after vacation. And we will go back home. If you are seeking to go back home, you will go back home. What is there to be taken seriously? Yes, you can take some smaller things seriously which you are supposed to do to make a living, to do these things. But not a spiritual path is to go joyfully back home. When people return, they are laughing on the way and going back, at last I'm going back home. That's the kind of attitude one should have. Non-serious laughter. We are going back our true home. So that's how it should be. But when you are very serious, then you get the seriousness can take you into something not realizing this is not real. Seriousness makes it even more real. So that is why take it lightly. It's a visit. We are here. We'll go back. We'll all go back. And then it becomes much lighter. If something has come into your life, something concerning your living here, some problem, take it seriously, solve it. Then be happy. It's gone, solved. If you have got initiation by a perfect living master, you are a very lucky person, I must tell you. If you got initiation from a perfect living master, you can even leave the serious problems to your master. People don't realize how can that be. Of course, you can leave serious problem to your master. You can talk to the master, close your eyes. Master, this is a problem I have. Can you handle it? If he's a PLM, which means perfect living master, by the way, we learned it in America, PLM. If PLM says yes, and he will always say yes, otherwise not a PLM. If he's a PLM, he'll say yes, then you relax. Wow, somebody more powerful, knows more, will take care of it. And you relax and watch, problem is taken care of. I'm telling you, at age 91, this has happened all my life. So it's not based upon hearsay or based upon a book, it's based upon experience. Perfect living masters take care of everything. We have to let them take care. Once a man came and told, great master, Master, if I have a serious problem, will you take care of me? He said, depends. Depends on what? Depends on whether you let me. That we don't let masters take care of it. He says, no, master doesn't know about it, I'll do this. Master, give me some help, I'll do it. You just help me and I'll do it. I say, okay, you do it then. If you're trying to do it, then do it. But if you want me to do it, then leave it to me. Don't play halfway games. But most of us play halfway games because our faith has not been built up to that point. We don't believe that master can do that. Especially when we are living in a reality which is only physical. How can another person take care of our problem? Because we are all thinking of the physical reality here. We don't know the power which is working. It's not working at the physical level. It's working at a level where even destinies are being made. They can be altered by that power. Power of a perfect living master is immense, unmeasurable. It can change everything in a moment. So that is why we underestimate, and we think as a human being, maybe he's a better human being, maybe more enlightened, but maybe not fully knowledgeable in my area of work. So how can he help me in this? These kind of thoughts come, and we hold on to the problems to ourselves. But if you test it out, try it out, I tried many times. In the beginning, I said I should first test my master, if he's real master or not. So I tested by simple means. I was young. I said, I have to catch a train. I am late. If train comes late, master is real. If I miss the train, he is not real. As it happened, train came late. I said, Master, you passed. One item passed. Tested him on something else. If that happens, it happened. Master, you passed. When I tried 10 or 12 times, after that I met the master to tell him he passed. And he smiled and he said, are you going to spend the life testing or moving forward? Very big eye-opener for me. That am I just going to be testing or move forward on my own journey for which he has come to me? So that is why there is a point up to which we test. When the test is favorably passed, we move forward. Now when I meet people who are following this path and who are initiated by a perfect living master, I am very pleased always to hear how an incident has happened in their life, one or more, where they are sure that the master helped them. They are absolutely sure. It could not have happened but for the master's intervention. That means master passed. Now, would you like to keep on doing the same thing or move forward? If you have got that kind of faith, faith has to be built up more by going and knowing more of the master inside, how he works, how he's connected with you, how he's taking care of you. That is can be done by, in the initial stages, by more meditation or more association with the physical form of the master. So there's a cut-off point when we stop just testing and have to move forward on our own spiritual journey. Now, in this spiritual journey, there are two ways of going. Like a slow train that stops at every station, or a fast train non-stop to destination. If we meditate, we can go through astral stage, beautiful experiences. Some people have been sitting there for a very long time, his disciples. They love it so much. And he said, doesn't matter, take your time. And then they step at the next station, the causal plane. Then they enjoy the beauty of creation, that you can go back millions, billions of years, see the creation of the physical universes, astral universes, see destinies being made. It's a very interesting, you can spend many years there. A lifetime you can spend there. Then you can go next step when you discover you are a soul. This was all set up. This is all a created thing. The reality was soul. You can spend time there. Or then you can go to your true home. There are these stops on the way. Some people love these stops. Some people are interested in stops. I want to get just an offhand opinion from you. How many of you would like stops on the way? How many of you like non-stop express? Wow. Non-stop express is winning today. I'm very happy to hear that. Well, I am glad that we could have this holiday session. We heard some songs. I don't know during this break, anybody else prepared to entertain us or no? What happened?
Yeah, over there.
Okay. We have something coming up. Thank you.